Hey everybody and welcome back to Crypto Kings. My name is Matt and in today's video I want to talk about exactly what Shiba Inu is doing this very second because it's making some pretty big moves I think you guys are going to want to be aware of. So if you guys are new, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and let's get right into the video. So if you guys have not seen exactly what SHIB is doing here on the day, it looks as if again we are sitting right around 50, right now down around 15%. But funny enough, this is actually not all that bad. And a lot of people in my comments go, oh, of course he wants to pump it up. But I really do believe this is not particularly tragic. First off, the fact that the social media presence and community for SHIB is literally through the roof. I mean, it is probably one of the strongest crypto communities I've ever seen. But on top of that, what we're working with here is actually a couple of very stable retests at a key support line that I'll show you guys here in a little bit. So the market cap right now is right around $27 billion, which is a good deal lower again than where we have been. And like I've said so many times, guys, if you showed someone back in September where our market cap is right now, they would not believe you. I mean, seriously, they would not believe you. So put that in perspective when, having issues with what's going on here. Again, it sucks. I agree. If you bought all the way up here, it's tough. But this is such a great, sort of result for people who bought it any time between here. Even people who bought any time over here. Still not bad. The volume here is up over 24 hours, of course, at around $11 billion with an increase of 42%. Definitely not good because a lot of this is sell volume, which is very unfortunate. So what we have here when we take a look at the graph is a lot of stuff. So the first thing that I think everybody needs to be aware of and remember is the fact that, of course, when we look at this, we have a sort of double rounded top, which is extremely bad because in the instance of a rounded top like this, that's just inherently a bearish pattern. It's hard to sort of say why every pattern like this is bearish, but the idea essentially with a rounded top is that it wasn't, explosive in its growth enough to sort of stagger. And these staggers really tend to show a lot more growth when it comes to any asset. I mean, again, you obviously have a flag as well. Something like a flag is always very bullish. Something like this, is a more bullish movement. When you have these rounded tops like this, it just kind of shows uncertainty. Now, there is a specific movement that this has done that so many people were hoping would not happen, but looks as if unfortunately has. So the movement that we see here is an inverted cup and handle because really when you look at it, it looks just like a cup and a handle. Now, the bullish movement is the regular cup and handle, which is something like this. You have a sort of middle swoop here. It works its way back up again, fighting through key points of resistance, reaches its first top, then slides down a little bit. People take profits, whatnot. Then it explodes and has a bullish movement. Now, the issue here with the inverted cup and handle idea is the fact that, of course, it is inverted. It is upside down, and this is obviously not good because what it is doing is it is obviously dropping to a key support line. It is trying to break through some of these resistance lines to get back to where it was. It fails, and it sinks. And that is essentially what SHIB has done, which is unfortunate. Look, this sucks. This is not good under any circumstance. However, I do have some faith because of what I am seeing here. So if you guys will remember from a few videos ago, I mentioned and talked about the fact that obviously this 60 line was really the major line of support. And unfortunately, it fell through that line of support. But for a good few days, this 60 line did look to be accurate. Now, why was this 60 line accurate? Well, the main reason is because we have data. We have a history of this line working. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instances of that working successfully. And of course, on the 6th, it falls through, which is terrible. But again, this line did serve as a good support for a few days. Now, this will be a new line of resistance on the way back up, but regardless, it did serve as a line of support for a few days. So what we're working with right now is a similar instance. So what I am personally seeing here is somewhere around 43, 44-ish. It looks as if this is going to be the new line of support because in two instances here, when we take a look at the graph we are working with, in two instances here, you guys can see it hits it, bounces back, hits it, bounces back. And it bounces back pretty strongly. Now, we also, in two more instances here, hit around 45, also looked to bounce back. So the question is, where did this line come from? Did Matt just make up this line? Is he being ridiculous again? Well, before we answer that, make sure to follow me over on Twitter, guys, at Matt Garbarino here over on Twitter. I would love to have you guys over here. I really, really would appreciate it. So at Matt Garbarino over on Twitter, that would mean the world to me, guys. But anyways, so on the question of where did this line come from, is Matt just making this up? Yada, yada, yada. the idea here is that we can check something a little bit more concrete than my guesses and look at the Fibonacci retracement. And of course, you guys can see here on the Fib retracement here that these lines are actually not what I have made up, but what the, sort of mathematical consensus that goes into the Fibonacci retracement has decided. So you guys can see the very bottom of the run and the very top are obviously traced out here. We have the very bottom, of course, which is led right at around 43, and then this 23.6% line is going to be the line of resistance. And you guys can see it passes it, fails a little bit, passes it again, fails, goes down. Now it's looking to pass it again. The question is, will the next few candles here manage to be successful in regaining support above this 23.6% line and create something like this? Or will these new lines again manage to fall? And if that happens, if it goes up here and then it falls back down and retests the 43 line, that's a bit of an issue, because if it falls through for whatever reason, that could be a very bad situation. So our goal, again, is to stay above the very bottom here of the Fib retracement, which is, of course, right at around 43. And that is, I think, a very good estimate for a lot of people. But I think the majority would feel a lot better if we were able to bounce above this 50. Because, again, people love even numbers, new decimal places, new, categories of tens. People love entering a new, sort of category like that, and entering a 50, finally being halfway back to shaving off a zero is pretty awesome. I think a lot of people like that, and that seems to kind of gravitate people for whatever reason. But also, entering the 50 and staying at the 50, this means that we were able to pass the limit sell test. I know there are a lot of people, of course, who will place their limit buys or their limit sell on an even number, on an even decimal, especially a lot of whales that could be doing that. We would have essentially passed the test, and that would be excellent. So our goal is, of course, to sort of get above this spot here, to stay right above 50. And I do think it is very feasible to be able to do this and consolidate on that for a good few days. I mean, I'm not expecting to head all the way back into the 70s. I know that would be very difficult, but within the next few days, it is extremely possible that, coming from the top here, right at the 38.2% line, and the bottom at the 23.6% line, to sort of bounce between it, man. Going right between 50 and 55. And, in a hopeful scenario, if we bounced, in this area without having to go and retest, 43 or 45, and hope that it bounces off, without having to do this, I think this is a lot safer. I think a lot of people will be happier that way and would be generally better for a bullish movement. So with that being said, guys, that is my 2 cents on exactly what is going on. When we check, of course, the relative strength index, you guys can see this is essentially telling us what can go down. And what is nice about this is we have a lot of headroom. So in the instance of the relative strength index here, we have a lot of headroom. We have a lot of room to move and to work our way up if we want to. So this relative strength index does have the option to sort of fill itself out. So we could easily go into the low 50s without having a lot of problems. And I do think that is fantastic. So with that being said, guys, thank you for watching the video. Make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you all are new. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.